This week on It's Too Wordy,
I believe in Gotham City.
welcome to It's Too Wordy, the weekly, take two. Hey, Nick, edit.
No. I'm going to put a ban on that. And anybody who says it more than 3 times in an episode, we're going to maybe, if you roll a 1, your character might die.
Sweet.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Welcome.
and I won't even say it. I won't even announce that.
You'll just kill me.
I'll just kill somebody.
Alright. Welcome to the It's Too Wordy comic book podcast, where 3 buddies discuss comics from their childhoods and today. I'm one of your hosts, Kirk.
Nick?
I'm Ryan.
How you guys doing today?
I'm alright.
Yeah, pretty good.
You should be. We were all off work today.
Yeah, that made it really nice.
It helped.
Yep. So this week we're going to be discussing Scooby-Doo Team-up number 48 and Batman The Long Halloween.
It's Mystery Month,
It is
so
Mystery
we're going to
Month.
bring like 4 or 5 mystery books.
And they're all going to be a Batman.
2.
2 are Batman.
2 Batmans.
And then Identity Crisis isn't Batman. So
He's-
he's involved.
He's in it. But not like throughout the whole thing. Alright. Scooby-Doo Team-up number 48. Why don't you do the synopsis, Ryan?
So, Scooby-Doo Team-up is Scooby-Doo teaming up with Hanna-Barbera characters or DC characters throughout. And this one, Scooby-Doo's team meets up with the Flash's rogues. The rogues hire Scooby-Doo's team to figure out who is stealing from them from all the stuff they steal, which was quite the conundrum for Scooby's group. But the top is a character that passed away previously to this, and so the ghost is stealing from them every time they do a big heist. So the rogues hired Scooby-Doo and Fred, Velma, Daphne, and Shaggy to look into who this ghost top is. They thought they were coming in because of the Flash. Flash supposedly sent them a communication saying, hey, need your help. They find out Flash is off-world, because apparently that happens frequently.
A lot.
Yeah, so that's a quick overview.
What'd you guys think?
I just think it's funny that the rogues would know that the Flash is off, helping the Justice League. Like, how did they know?
Because
Does he tell them?
Nobody's
Like,
nobody-
guys, I'm going off for about 2 weeks. You guys just don't do anything stupid.
I could see that easily with their relationship. So.
Right.
He goes to Captain Cold. Hey, man, I'm leaving. I'm going to be gone a while. He's like, right. Okay. We're going to ransack the city.
I do enjoy this book. I don't get it myself. I get it from my son, but
Sure.
I read it. I read it before I hand it over to him, and it's fun. Some of the characters that they have team up and things like that. This one was a little more boring in my opinion, but I forgot how much I enjoyed the Flash's Rogues Gallery.
Yeah.
Because they don't go out to hurt anybody. They go out to just try to rob things to help improve them. Make money that way. They're not out to try to kill somebody. They're not like Batman's villains or Superman's or whoever else. They're not intentionally going out and trying to.
There's a code.
Yeah, there's a code. And I absolutely enjoy those villains because of that.
I'm trying to think back, probably 1999, 2000, they tried to make the Flash's Rogues Gallery like Batman's.
Mm-hmm.
So they made them insane. They made them killers. They made
Over
it was
the
just
top.
like over the top.
Over
There was
the
like
top,
this
just like
weird
Batman's.
mime that had his mouth stitched up, and they were trying to make it horror. And it's like, that's the Flash. That's not Batman. It was cool to read. I mean, it was creepy, but
It's a different take.
it was different.
I
It was
liked it
also
when-
the 90s, late 90s. So
everything had to do with
dark.
dark apocalyptic.
When Jeff Johns took over Flash, he really built those rogues up and created that rogues code and everything else, and I think that did a lot for it. But the story as a whole, it was fine. I wasn't overly impressed, wasn't underimpressed.
I couldn't figure out who it was until the end.
Even reading The Flash for a long time, you kind of forget some of his rogues.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot that dude was even one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give out who the villain is in this, but I never suspected it. Did you suspect it?
Crossed my mind, but I was trying to think of somebody else that it could have been, because he really doesn't fall in my mind. He really doesn't fall under that rogues gallery. Heatwave, Mirror Master, Captain Cold. Those guys, you always see them kind of together. This individual was not. You never really saw him hanging out with those guys.
I will tell you that since I started watching DC Legends of Tomorrow, when I saw Captain Cold in this team-up, his voice and his cadence and his voice was in my head the entire time I was reading it.
I'm used to reading this. I'm just curious. What do you guys rate it?
I give it a 3. I'm a nostalgia factor for bringing all those characters back and that I haven't read in a while. And you mix it with Scooby-Doo, and the writing's really done well. I liked it. I don't know if I'm going to buy anymore, but I liked it.
Growing up, I wasn't the biggest Scooby-Doo fan. I was more into, Voltron and Transformers and all that. So that's all I pretty much watched.
Right.
But I am a big fan of the Flash, and I do like all of his rogues. So I will give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I'd probably go about 3 on it myself.
All right.
I just had problems, so Fred and Daphne find things in the Flash Museum to use against the rogues, and it's like, how did you know how to use them? You grab the Weather Wizard's wand. That's hard to say.
Weather Wizard's wand.
And you know how to use it. You just take it out of the case and you know how to use it. And, if it was that easy.
Well, they do the research.
Right.
They do the research.
Okay, yeah. That's pretty much
because they know everything. They're the Scooby-Doo gang. All right. Anything else on Scooby-Doo?
No, that was Scooby-Doo Team-up 48. Just
number 48. Sorry, we didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't say what number it was. It's on your newsstands now for another couple days.
It was last week.
Yes,
last week. Now we're going to discuss Batman: The Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Would you talk a little bit about what you want to talk about, Nick?
It's a murder mystery. It has to be at least 14 different guys who could have done this murder.
And it's got a lot of chapters, and we're going to discuss every one of them
and
now. 3 hours.
You get to meet the Falcones, or the Falcones, as they said in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is cool, because this is pretty much where they came from.
And you get to see Two-Face become Two-Face.
Spoilers. No, this is not a spoiler. We're going to spoil the shit out of this book. One thing I really hate about Batman is there's a scene where he's talking to Commissioner Gordon and Harvey Dent on a rooftop.
Yeah.
And the thing in his head, you know what he's thinking about when he's talking to them? I made a promise to my parents. Like, no shit, dude.
We know that.
Shit. So you're going to go up there, you're going to be all, Master Detective, and you're going to sit there, but you're not going to talk, listen to what they're telling you. You're going to sit there and be like, I made a promise to my parents. I would not rest until Gotham City is washed clean of criminals. Like, really? That's what you're thinking about? Ugh. That's one thing I hate about Batman.
I'm going to say that...
And he's not a good detective in this.
No, he's not.
He cannot figure this one out.
Nope.
And it's a classic.
It is a classic.
But
it's the first time I've read this classic, but it's a classic.
I read it about once a year. I love this story.
I like...
Catwoman's awesome.
Selena Kyle. I like how they draw her, and she walks that fine line of being a villain or being...
See, that is the one problem I
superhero.
had later in the book, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Like all his villains show up, like Joker. Do you know Joker's shadow has a smile in it? Do you see that?
I missed that.
It has a white smile in his shadow.
Part.
Let me find it.
This Joker was kind of... Maybe I haven't read too many with the Joker in it, because I kind of try to stay away from the Joker. But he seemed quite a bit more psycho than normal in this one.
Well, that's what he should be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, Calendar Man shows up, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
You're going to forget who I am.
So the whole deal on Long Halloween is a series of murders take place, but they're only taking place on holidays. And it started on Halloween, so they call it the Long Halloween because that's when it started and went forward. And then each chapter was them analyzing a different villain it could have possibly been. They even thought that it could have been Maroni, the other gang that's in town.
The rival gang to the Falcones.
Because all the killings were happening on the Falcone side.
Yes.
So it would make logical sense that that's what's going on. But since these were all happening on holidays, Calendar Man then becomes a part of it because that's what he's known for. However, he is in jail the whole time. But as Batman pointed out, those records can be falsified. What I liked a lot was whenever somebody got murdered in here, they went black and white on the colors.
Yeah.
And the only thing that stood out was the symbolism for that holiday.
Yeah, and the little clues that they left behind. I made sure to keep track of, when I was reading this, I kept track of all of the clues that were left behind.
Yeah. So like on Halloween, a little jack-o'-lantern was left, and Valentine's Day was like a heart. St. Patty's Day, there's a little leprechaun left behind. I think my favorite was April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Thought that was really good.
Poison Ivy shows up.
Yeah.
And why would you take a rose, if you're Batman and Selina Kyle, Catwoman, and somebody with a hood shows up with pure white hands,
Yep.
gives you a rose, why are you going to take that? He gets infected by Poison Ivy and apparently bangs her.
Yep.
Right? Is that what you're getting from this
I get-
panel right here? Where
I
she's,
get it, yeah.
and it's like,
I
okay,
got pure
so
baggage.
not only is she a villain, but now she's a rapist?
Yep.
Okay.
And then
I could see it.
when Selina Kyle opens his shirt and he's got ivy all over him, I'm like, ooh! I don't know why that creeped me out a little bit.
It is funny when Catwoman gets caught in things. She's always like, meow. It does have, like, one of my favorite panels is where the Riddler's trying to tell Falcone who did the murders, and he's got Selina Kyle in a trench coat with a fedora.
Yep. Yeah, I like that one.
That
That
is
one's awesome.
An awesome panel.
I'm like, why is Selina Kyle in a? And then I'm like, she wasn't one of the one. I thought it was Harvey Dent the whole time again.
You know, I think there is some characters that showed up that didn't need to show up, like Scarecrow. What was the point of that?
Yeah.
Or the Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
It really didn't go anywhere towards
Solomon
that.
Grundy, born on a Monday.
Yeah. That was another one.
I didn't understand that either.
I think probably just the artist or writer really likes those characters.
Really
so they
like
want to throw them
Solomon
in.
Grundy.
The other problem I have in this book, there's a panel where the Riddler gets shot around his body
Yeah.
with a .22 caliber Ruger. Okay, .22 caliber Rugers hold maybe 10 bullets.
And he's got a whole outline.
There's about 100 of them, but on the ground there's probably 12 casings.
Yeah.
She must have taken the clip out,
She?
put it back in, like reloaded,
That's exactly what he did.
shot more,
That's what he did. Yes.
took the clip out, put it back in, shot more. That's a lot. That's like 10 clips
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
So the umbrella's for,
Penguin,
yeah,
who does not make an
he
appearance.
does
in this
not make it in here.
No, he doesn't.
Mr. Freeze didn't either, right?
No
No.
freeze. It's a good,
It's a good book. I read it. It kept me interested that I read it in a day.
Yeah.
I blew
It's a
through
very
it.
easy read.
I blew through it really quick. I didn't lose interest at any point.
it's interesting that the mob would have to go to the supervillains,
I can understand going to the Riddler.
right? But Mad Hatter and Scarecrow,
No.
you know,
No.
I still love this book, even though I find problems with it, but
I would probably read this again once a year.
Oh, I just enjoy it so much. And I've read a lot of Loeb and Sales books together,
Yeah.
and all of them are amazing. They did a Catwoman When in Rome. They did the color series for Marvel.
Daredevil Yellow,
Yeah,
Hulk
Gray.
Gray, yeah.
Captain America White, Spider-Man Blue. They did a couple of other series for Batman, Dark Victory, and
There's also Tales of the Batman by Tim Sale. He did some of
Yeah.
that.
I was
They
really
did Challenger of the Unknown.
I was really excited when I found this up in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I got my own copy. I don't have to borrow
it is an amazing read. Definitely read it. Now, the thing I had an issue with, like you mentioned earlier, Catwoman makes, kind of rides that line.
Yeah.
It gets into how Harvey Dent turns into Two-Face.
Yep.
Not really spoiling anything there.
What? I
But
didn't catch that part.
they go, and Harvey's sitting at a desk, and we've got Solomon Grundy, the Mad Hatter, Joker. Oh, Penguin does make an appearance.
Does he?
He's in
He
there.
is in that picture.
Oh,
He's
yep.
in that picture.
Scarecrow, Ivy, and then there's Catwoman.
Right.
And he's
It-
like, what are you doing with them?
Didn't you just fight Poison Ivy in
Yep.
this? Maybe like a month ago?
I'm
all
where
of
I'm
them have
supposed
already
to
been
be.
put back to. But now they did show that they all escaped again. Everybody but Calendar Man.
Poor Calendar Man, still in prison.
But Catwoman showing up here, it didn't feel right with the rest of the story.
No, it didn't.
No,
it was like,
that was
why is she with all these villains? Yeah, I didn't like that either.
But that is the only problem I really have with it. Batman's not much of a detective in this, but it was just such a good read. You got kind of a background of how much Jim Gordon puts into the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You see how dedicated Harvey was to his job
Before he went all
before he
Two-Face.
went crazy.
Yep.
It's just such a good read. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. We want to do ratings for it on this one?
Absolutely.
What do you give it?
5.
Okay.
Yeah, even with the problems with it, it's a total classic. I'm going to 5.
Well, it's the first time I read it, so I'm thinking I'm going to give it a 0.9.
Yeah, the art and the coloring and all the storyline. I don't know.
No.
It's a piece of shit.
No. It like I said, it was really good. First time reading it. I want to read it again maybe sometime down the road when I forget what happens in it.
Right.
I'm going to give it a 5 too. I really liked it a lot.
It's just such a good book. And it's got a hidden twist at the very end when you think you got it all figured out.
Yep. Two-Face goes, there were 2, right? I'm like, what?
Well, it was pretty much through the whole thing. Calendar Man was saying he and she, he's doing this and she's doing that. And
Yep.
I just thought he was doing, like, trying to throw off the scent. I didn't realize he was talking about two people.
he was very Hannibal Lecter at that point, though. He knew exactly who it was doing, but...
It's... Yeah, I recommend this for anybody who's never read it. I had never known how Two-Face became Two-Face.
Yep.
I knew how he became. I just didn't know where in the books he became Two-Face. So now that I know it,
Right.
I can't recommend it enough, guys. All right, anything else? Any others on Batman Long Halloween?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, we're going to move right along to our random read segment. And since it was Ryan's idea, we're going to have Ryan go first. Because we kind of hijacked it. It's no longer random reads with Ryan, it's random reads with the whole crew.
Which I absolutely love. It's getting you guys reading other stuff. I had some downtime this week. I was able to get through 3 different books. First one was Descendants by Aftershock. As you know, I am a huge fan of Aftershock.
I am as well. I'm starting to become one as well.
I absolutely love this. A presidential candidate is getting set to run for the presidency, and his kid goes missing. Somebody kidnaps his kid. And the emblem the symbol that they left behind on the note for the kid was what was left behind for when Lindbergh's baby got kidnapped way back when. And that's the kind of the premise of it. It was an absolutely fantastic read. It's kind of like a whodunit. There's the whole conspiracy theory guy that shows up, and his ex-wife has to come out, who's a lawyer, and rescue him from a military base because he was under the conspiracy theory of something, and she had to come out and, I'm his lawyer, get him out of here now, kind of thing. It is an amazing read. It's definitely worth checking out. I can't wait until the second one.
Nice.
The next one I think Nick's going to be a little bit excited about is DC Superstars of Magic Giants. This is a run back from 72 through 77, and I've got issue number 11 here. And this is the first solo story of Zatanna. I am a huge Magic fan in the DC universe. I love reading all those Magic books. Books of Magic with...
Tim Hunter.
There it is, Tim Hunter. I had Harry Potter in my head because it's so similar. Madame Xanadu, Detective Chimp, all those guys. I love that Magic. They do such a great job storytelling. And this was a lot of fun. I saw it at the shop. I'm like, I've got to get it. It's the first story. So her and her manager are going to go see her dad, and her dad has gotten taken over by a entity, and they zap them off into another world where they have to fight out of that world and come back. The manager is telling jokes through the whole thing, which reminds me a little bit of myself with just the sarcasm and the wit to it. I always find reading Zatanna a little challenging because when she casts a spell, she says it backwards.
You gotta read it backwards.
So I'm looking at the word. Okay, there's the first 3 letters. Okay, there. Okay, that's the word. There. Okay. So it always takes you a little bit longer to read through them, but it's just a fantastic story. They make it back out, and they end up having to battle her dad. I don't want to give away too much. It's just a fantastic little story. Then they had a backup issue of Flash, and it was the retelling of Abracadabra.
Wow, synchronous.
Perfect for this week.
The funny thing is when I was reading this, I'm like, what did I just read with Abracadabra in it? So it was the retelling of Abracadabra. I had to do some double checking to make sure that this wasn't the first origin story for him. It's not. It was just a reprint of it, essentially. I think his Flash 126 is his origin. Don't quote me on that. That was a fun little read, too. But since it is in the 70s, obviously, you're burning through it quickly. This one took me a little bit of time to get through, but it was a fun story. They got some scientific facts in here. Abracadabra kicked Barry out into space without his Flash costume, but he's still got his regular clothes on. He lands on a meteorite, essentially, and figures out if he gathers up enough speed and launches himself in the right trajectory, he would be able to get back to Earth without any problems whatsoever.
That makes perfect sense.
It
Because apparently the asteroid has an atmosphere on it, right?
Well, let's see. They addressed that. They said something about how there is some atmosphere on there, and then with the fact that he creates its own environment around him because he's so fast that he has plenty of oxygen, that kind of thing. Here, the freak chemical accident that originally gave Barry Allen his fantastic speed also surrounded his body with an aurora, invisible radiation that safeguards his body as he travels at super speed. So they actually addressed that. A planet's gravity is directly proportional to its mass and density. Another little editor's note: ordinarily, only worlds of certain large mass can contain an atmosphere, but in case of smaller ones with high density, it is also possible. Let's see, because it said, fortunately, this planetoid has an atmosphere that I can breathe, but I must reach a tremendous velocity before I try flying myself off of it. So they address all these things.
The questions that you would have, right?
I love the fact that they did that.
And you kind of forget that the Flash is a scientist, so we do actually think about that stuff.
Yeah. So this was fantastic. I loved it. I'm so happy I found it.
That's not easy to find.
No.
I've never actually seen one.
First one I ever saw, I'm like, yes, mine. And then finally, because we're never probably ever going to address this one, Heroes in Crisis. It is a 9-part series that's coming out right now. The premise of it is that heroes also kind of get post-traumatic, PTSD, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have a farm in the middle of the country where the heroes can go to and just kind of talk it out to this robot, essentially. And they did a fantastic job of building up Booster Gold and Harley Quinn as the killer. Booster thinks it's Harley. Harley thinks it's Booster. Fantastic job building it up. You just wanted to read the next issue. Then I got to issue 8. So we have one more issue coming. And I was so disappointed with this.
Okay.
Because they told you who did it.
Who did it before the final issue?
Which is fine because they're going to kind of go into it. I think they're going to probably explain a little bit more.
Okay.
So this was a true whodunit. And I hated it.
Well, we're not going to spoil who did it,
we're
but
not going to spoil
we can talk about it because we'll just edit and we'll just.
Okay, so you're telling me I don't want to read this.
All right, we'll just.
The first half of it was amazing. You just couldn't get enough of it.
They changed writers?
Nope. Tom King's doing it. He's the one that does the writing for Batman, and I've liked his stuff there. He also did Miracle Man, which got rave reviews, things like that. This one I was just really disappointed in because you really wanted it to be somebody, but this whole time traveling.
No, I'll totally get it. Because
Yeah.
when you're reading a story and you get to that end and you're like, that's it?
That's it?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Game of Thrones TV show. That's it.
Put so much time and money into this thing and you give me this storyline?
So for me, obviously, Descendants would probably be a 3.5. I'm excited about it.
What number is that? Is that
Number one.
Number one?
Just came out a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
DC Superstars of Magic Giant. I'm not going to get the rest of the series. I don't have any desire to get the rest of the series. It was just a fun Santana read.
Okay.
Probably a 4. Heroes in Crisis. Up to this point, I would have said it was like 4.5.
4.5. No, it's a...
Issue 8, 2.
Wow. It dropped that much.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just a little bit of a disappointment for me.
Okay.
So what did you guys read?
What'd you read, Nick?
I'm putting DC Superstars. What number is that?
11?
11? In my wish list.
In your wish list? All right.
So I was doing more of my comic inventory, and I came across all my G.I. Joes, which I was lucky I didn't have a 55. I have I do have some 1950s G.I. Joes. We should talk about those one day. But
Okay.
so I found my favorite issue of G.I. Joe. It's number 34. When I was little, we lived by an Air Force base. So all the kids in school were, I'm going to be a pilot. I'm a pilot.
Yep. I grew up right down the road from that same Air Force base, and I wanted to be a pilot too.
I wanted to be a pilot too.
Yep.
So this is a story about Ace versus Wild Weasel. The two pilots between G.I. Joe and Cobra. They destroy the crap out of each other's airplanes through this whole thing. Until you get to the end where they're out of ammo. They've used all their missiles. All their bullets are spent. Their planes are completely destroyed. And they cross paths and they salute each other. And then they go both ways.
Mm-hmm. The respect between the two enemies, yeah.
Okay.
And the Baroness and Lady J are like, what the hell? Go after him. And they're just like, no, that was it.
That was
That was all we wanted to do.
Wow.
So it was cool. It was like, it's like nice little, you're a badass too kind of moment. And they just flew away.
And Wild Weasel never got the love that he should have gotten.
No.
Because you could tell he's supposed to be a badass pilot.
Yeah.
It never happened.
I always wanted...
Especially when it's an A-10 versus an F-14.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to
A
happen.
tank buster versus a Tomcat. There's no way. I always wanted that plane, and I just never got it. That was one of the toys I always
The
wanted.
Sky Striker or the Rattler?
The Rattler, because I had the Sky Striker.
Yep.
I never got either. I had the Night Raven
Had that one.
and that one with the sweep wings in the front. I can't remember what that one was.
I can't remember what that
Oh,
one was
with the
either.
guy, with the
When they changed,
character where nobody remembers his name.
Right.
when
Yeah,
they changed,
big, great, like, brown helmet,
when
Yeah,
they
that
changed the plane, and I thought it was really lame.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Okay.
mine.
Well, I did a lot of reading this week, but I'll go into two of them that I found, one by accident, and I came across a miniseries called Fallen Angels. They had issues 1 through 6, and then 8. So all I'm missing now
7.
is 7. The premise of the story is the New Mutants. Well, the start of this book, the New Mutants are playing soccer, and Roberto DaCosta, who is Sunspot, who is becomes one of my favorite characters later on, is an arrogant little prick. He's always been an arrogant little prick. They're playing soccer, and he's talking shit because he's from Brazil, and he's going to be the next Pele. I was going to be the next Pele before I became a mutant, and...
Wait, Sunspot's from Brazil?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I always thought he was... I'm thinking of Sunfire.
Sunfire's from Japan.
That's who I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yeah, Sunspot is from Brazil.
Okay, gotcha.
So they're all playing in this game, and there's a really funny panel with Warlock and Rain, where they're sitting together watching the game, and Warlock's mimicking Rain. She's got her hands on her chin and watching in the grass, and Warlock's one of my favorite characters. I love Warlock. Magneto's running the school. He's taken over for Charles Xavier at this point, and he is trying to decide how he's going to do it because he doesn't like doing administrative side of the school. So he decides he's going to call Moira McTaggart, bring her in to help. So they introduce Siren, Nick's favorite Cassidy, and then one of my favorite characters, the Multiple Man. When he's done correctly, he's a pretty badass character. So what happens is Sam Guthrie Cannonball is dribbling in on Sunspot, and he takes the shot. Sunspot saves it, but they collide, and Sunspot gets pissed and proceeds to knock Sam Guthrie across the field headfirst into a tree, giving him a concussion. I'm like, well, if you knew anything about Sam Guthrie and Cannonball, you wouldn't think he was in trouble here. There's no tension there.
But he's invulnerable when he's blasting.
That's all you know at this point, yes. All the New Mutants turn on him and basically tell him to get the hell out of there and stuff like that he hurt Sam and he did it intentionally, and so Sunspot's, they're right. He walks off, and Sam wakes up and he's like, I gotta apologize to Berto, cause I hit him pretty hard. And you see him and he's like all woozy and stuff. So, Roberto goes snooping through Professor X's and Magneto's office and finds his file on himself, and it says that if he's not careful and if he's not closely supervised, he's going to go down the path of his father. So then and there, Sunspot decides to run away and become a villain because he's a bad boy. I was like, wow. Didn't take much for people to turn into villains back in the day.
Just read your permanent record and you're a villain.
You're a villain. And they show Multiple Man and Siren and Moira getting ready to go to America. And then they get home from the hospital. There's a cool thing where they were at the hospital and Warlock has to disguise himself as a human, which I thought was cool because he just looks like this freak.
He looks like Legion.
Yeah, he does. He
Kind of with the wild hair. And
with the wild hair and everything. And they get back and they find the note from Sunspot and Magneto's like, you wanted your pound of flesh. Well, you got it. Now go think about what you guys did, right? Saying Roberto said he was leaving and he said, ciao, Roberto. Warlock goes nuts. He's like, this isn't what's supposed to happen. Nay, I will go and help. He goes to find Roberto and turns into a plane. I know he's kind of lame, but his premise of his character was supposed to be cool, you know? And then he's walking through the streets and he spent all his money on the bus fare, so he thinks he's going to starve. And one of this person who looks like a boy, but turns out she's a girl, was saying how his clothes are nice, so he's not worth stealing anything from because he's probably broke. And she gets into a bit of trouble with some calendar kid that's selling calendars for...
What is her name? Does she have a name? She's not a New Mutant anyway, is she? She's not.
No,
later on?
she's just a street kid.
Okay.
I don't think she becomes a New Mutant.
Street ruffian.
Yeah, I don't think she has any powers at all. I think she just is a street kid.
Because she's drawn just like...
Like Sand.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's some church, like cult church, that this kid's selling calendars for. And she doesn't like them because they promised that they bring them over here, her family over, and have a good life, and all they've been is slaves to them. She ran away, and she gets cornered by two hoodlums, and Sunspot, unhand that woman. I, Sunspot, am going to give you a right thrashing. He proceeds to start beating the piss out of each other, and then his powers fail.
Of course, it's Sunspot.
Because his powers always fail, no matter what.
Always.
No matter what, Sunspot his powers always fail. You're left with him and the girl shaking in fear, and that's where it ends for part 1.
So, another weird thing about synchronicity, that just like you got yours today, I was reading a thing on Facebook about Boom Boom, and we were talking about Boom Boom like 2 days ago, and today there was a thing on there, and she's in that.
First appearance
Yep.
of Boom Boom is in Fallen Angels.
And it was just like, what is it with Boom Boom? Is there going to be something with her coming out pretty soon? Because they're relaunching the X-Men books? Is there going to...
She's probably going to be part of that. She's
I
probably
bet she is.
She's probably
Because
going to be in the X-Men.
she's the better version of Dazzler.
And
She's
Jubilee.
the better version of Jubilee.
She's out of those 3 characters, she's my favorite. She's always been one of my favorite characters.
And she got to hang around with the Beyonder.
Yeah, because she's got a little bit more depth.
But she didn't have roller skates.
No,
But she could.
she could. And she changes her name from Boom Boom to Meltdown later on, so I thought that was pretty cool. All right, and then the next one I've been collecting the West Coast Avengers, so I picked up Avengers West Coast number 50, The Return of the Human Torch. Ryan's making a face. Were you going to get that book?
No, I just forgot something.
Oh, because I did pick it up at Krypton, so I was like,
I replaced it this week.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, Kirk's been here.
Yep, that was the only one.
Avengers West Coast is all gone.
I couldn't afford to do all that after I found the 8-part miniseries, and then I found some more X-Men 2099, and then as these two guys know, I've started collecting the West Coast Avengers because I've always really liked the storyline, and I decided I wanted the entire run. And I agree. Nick and I were talking the other day, and we have to go through the entire history of Vision at some point through this, because this threw me off with Vision.
I think we'll do that in Family Month. We'll do the Williams family,
Okay.
starting with Simon Williams and then working up,
Okay.
because that's a big family tree right there.
Because I always thought that Vision was the Human Torch.
That was the story for about, what was that, 89?
Yeah, it's
So probably 30 years.
1989. Yeah.
So probably 30 years we all thought that the Human Torch was turned into Vision.
Yeah. So it starts out with Toro, Ryan's favorite character, Toro's wife, talking to the West Coast Avengers because the East Coast Avengers wouldn't talk to her. I'm going to say I really don't like USA Agent. He's a knockoff Captain America.
Yeah.
That's the
Is
point.
that John Walker?
Yeah,
Or later on, Jack Daniels?
I think. Yeah.
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 Brilliant. Good writing, guys.
Yeah.
Although I love the story in Captain America, but Johnny Walker.
And so they're talking to her, and she's telling the story about how her husband died. And they're like, I don't think I believe her. Do you believe her? I'm not sure. Do you believe her? I don't know. why didn't they talk to the guys on the East Coast? They talk about the Vision, right? And Scarlet Witch is like, "What do you want with my husband, bitch?" Because she's talking about how thought he was the Torch and stuff like that.
This is before her mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Oh, when you get to that one, we'll talk about that.
So, yeah, they Wonder Man tries to calm her down, and she's like, "Leave me alone, Simon." Vision goes after her, and so they're talking, and it talks about how Toro found out that the Human Torch had passed away, and he went to the funeral. He was going to go to the funeral to pay his respects to the guy he was his annoying sidekick to for so long. So he goes to the funeral, and there's no superheroes there. No superheroes at the funeral.
Human Torch, Jack Hammond, right?
Jim Hammond.
Jim Hammond. That's right. Yep. So they're talking to his wife again because he didn't show up. Like he called her, and it had been like 24 hours since she'd heard from him, and she's still talking about the story. And they decide that they're going to contact the Submariner to find out the truth if he'd really die, if the story that Toro's wife is saying is correct. Because Submariner was the last person to see Toro alive because he turned, And so they're talking, and Hank Pym calls Namor, and Namor looks like he's stoned out of his mind right there. "Hey, brother, what's going on?"
Yeah.
He looks like he's stoned. And he's like, "Even though much of my memory I've been in amnesiac state, what the woman is telling you is true." So to her beliefs, she believes that Toro's dead. And it come to find out later on, Toro had gotten possessed drank some kind of poison set by...
Which one?
Master of Time himself. Immortus.
Kang.
Okay.
It's a future version of Kang.
Slipped him a Mickey in his drink and turned him against everybody.
He couldn't have done that in Vader's 1.
No. Come to find out that the funeral for the Human Torch was all just a ruse by Immortus to get at Toro and everybody. And so they decide that they want to exhume the body of Jim Hammond. And everybody's like, "That's gross. The mayor won't let you do it because the cemeteries..." The mayor of the town where the Human Torch is buried, he was buried like 30 years before. And the cemetery no longer exists where the Human Torch is at. And they want to exhume the body to make sure that it's him.
Right.
So everybody's like, the mayor won't let him do it. So Vision's like, "I'm going to go into the grave and go through the coffin and check it out for myself." So he phases through the ground into the coffin. He identifies that it is Jim Hammond in the coffin. His body isn't decayed, so he's the android, right? Scarlet Witch goes... still super pissed for some reason, because she looks like she's always pissed. She decides to exhume the body herself, because "I have no use of man's laws. I am blah, blah, blah." And the Human Torch shoots out.
Yeah, he gave him oxygen.
Yep.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
And Wonder Man goes after him to find... because he wants to make sure that it's him. So Wonder Man takes off after him. Now, I thought Wonder Man could fly, but here
he's got jetpacks.
He's got jetpacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you cut to nanny for Scarlet Witch and Vision talking about the children. I didn't think they had children.
They did. They end up later on being part of the Young Avengers.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes up in a big way later on in the series their children.
Okay. So
Agatha Harkness, that's the lady in the black right there.
Yes.
She teaches the Scarlet Witch how to do magic. So she's her mentor.
Okay, so Wonder Man finally catches up to the Human Torch. And Torch, wait, I'm a friend. I want to help you. A friend? And they become friends. And Torch comes back, and Vision and Torch shake hands. And you find out that Vision is just spare parts put together by Ultron in this.
Wait, hold on. No, Tony Stark created Vision.
Hank Pym created
Hank Pym
Ultron.
Created Ultron.
An entomologist.
Yes.
Created an artificial intelligence.
Yes. They took major liberties. So, Human Torch...
Hey, there's Frankie Ray Nova again. What is that, 3 times this week?
Her?
Yeah.
Yeah, it talks about how she became the Human Torch, and then she became the Herald of Galactus.
Yeah. So we're having a Frankie Ray week.
So it talks about how she gets created to becomes the Human Torch,
her dad is the guy who created the original Human Torch.
Yes.
Yep.
And then
So convoluted.
yeah. And then Wanda's still being a bitch. Vision's like talking to Hank Pym, and that's when they find out that Hank Pym had flown through Vision and noticed that it was repair parts or spare parts of Ultron or something in Vision, and they decide to make the Human Torch a member of the team, giving him his uniform with
Unstable molecules.
unstable molecules. That's what I was looking for. And he starts crying. You guys are great. You're the best. I have friends. And then Iron Man returns.
Of course.
And I have the issue where Iron Man returns. I read that one. That was the first issue of West Coast Avengers I bought. Got me interested in the series.
So I can't believe how inexpensive that book is. I mean, Jim Hammond comes along. He takes over. He's a huge part of Marvel now. Huge part.
I paid $7 for that.
They named the Avengers training area the Hammond base after Jim Hammond. He's just a big part of Marvel now. And for his first appearance in 30, 40 years,
Yep.
It
should be
it's
worth
$3.
more. It should be worth more.
Okay, so you want to know what we were finding? It was
Yeah, tell me about
the
it.
retcon.
Well, let me give my rating. It's a return of a Golden Age character. I'm going to give I like the story. Highly recommend it, guys. All right, go with your retcon.
All right, so in 2014, this is from Wikipedia. So in 2014, as part of the Marvel Now All New Invaders, were relaunched, and a flashback story was told about Toro during World War II in issues 6 and 7, and it's revealed that Toro is an Inhuman in issue number 10.
He's an Inhuman?
Of course he is. Marvel at this time was really against mutants,
Nope.
so they were trying to make them all into Inhumans.
Because they couldn't use the
Right.
name mutants because of Fox.
Fox.
Yep.
So
Okay.
they were like, hey, here's this mutant. Let's just make him an Inhuman. So why didn't they do that with Namor, too?
Yeah.
There's no water on the moon.
Is there?
There's
There could be.
Aqua Inhumans, so maybe there is
There could be.
Trigon. Triton.
Yeah,
Triton.
I found out
Triton.
today.
Triton's watering them.
Right.
I read some other stuff this week too. I had some time to read somehow. I think it's because I was reviewing for my test this week. I wasn't actually having to learn anything. I picked up Symbiote Spider-Man #1. Peter David's writing it. I think I might collect this. I actually liked it.
And another piece of synchronicity. Guess what's in that issue?
What?
The death of Jean DeWolf.
No, that's the Ghost Rider.
Oh, crap. Okay, so, yeah. Well, you got Peter David, and then you got the Cosmic Ghost Rider, where they go back and talk about the Jean DeWolf
Yeah.
story.
Yep, there's a thing. Yeah, and that was the next one I was going to talk about. I picked up Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History #2 just for fun, because it's probably... I knew it was going to be comedy, and I didn't realize that Frank Castle was the Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Yep.
I didn't realize that. But yeah, they talk about Jean DeWolf in there, and it just basically rips Spider-Man's entire history apart. How he's a mamby-pamby without the Rider around. The reason Spider-Man was so good was because Ghost Rider was around. And then I read Doctor Strange 12 through 14, where Galactus gets put into the cosmic realm, and basically he can't survive in there because he's of science, not mysticism.
Right.
So it's changing Galactus, and it's really good. I'll have to, if you ever have time, I'll let you read it. And then I picked up 2 War of the Realms issues. I picked up Strike Force #1 with Cap, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Luke Cage, and they're trying to find Thor on Jotunheim, because I think that's where Thor is. And Captain America shows up riding Pegasus, because all the people who ride him all the Valkyries were wiped out, and Spider-Man gets a helmet that he can talk to the Pegasus. It's a really good book. I really liked it. I found out it's a one-off, but it was really good for a one-shot. I really liked it. And then Punisher #2, War of the Realms. I read it in 3 minutes. It had nothing of substance. I'm not going to read any more of that.
Come on, he fights frost giants, right?
Not in this one.
No?
He's going through the tunnel system to Jersey to save some hospital patients.
So it has nothing to do with War of Realms.
No.
That's about right.
So I was like, I'm not picking this up anymore. I'm done with that one. The first issue was okay. I gave it a chance. Got the second one. I'm done. But the Strike Force was really good. It was good for a one shot. And that's all I got to read this week. I read a couple articles. The first one I read is that in August, they're coming out with Absolute Carnage.
Of course.
And
Another big sweeping event.
He'll be pitted against Venom, Deadpool, Miles Morales, Iron Fist, and there'll also be a limited edition series featuring his daughter Scream. I didn't know there were so many Carnage stories, so...
You're about to see that there's a lot of Carnage stories.
Yeah, back in the day, that was one of my favorite characters, and it sounds like they bastardized him just like Venom. So...
Maybe.
He's got a new host, right? It's not Cassidy anymore.
No, I don't think
No.
it's Cassidy.
And then the second article, just for Ryan here, Jonathan Hickman debunks 2 fan theories about House of X and Powers of X. The first one he debunks is that it will not take place in an alternate universe. It will be in Marvel Comics universe proper. And then...
Like the 616 universe.
Yeah, the one that's the Marvel...
Okay, I was about to say, it was like the Marvel universe. It's like, okay, well, there's 8,000 of them.
No, the one that has...
The 616 standard.
The
Yeah,
616, which is the standard.
Yeah.
And it will not involve time travel. 2 of the arcs that they've been dealing with in those movies, alternate universes, and he said it's going to be straight in the 616 universe, and it's not going to involve time travel, and it's not going to involve... So I was like, okay, that makes it better. I'm kind of intrigued now to see what they're going to do. So those were my 2 articles for the week. I know you love X-Men, so...
I do.
So what do you got, Ryan?
So, that Marvel 1000's coming out,
Yes.
and you've seen the image where it's got, like, pictures of all the characters on the cover.
I haven't seen it yet, no.
So it's insane. It's got, just classic images throughout Comicdom from Marvel, where it's just, like, the Punisher shooting Spider-Man 129, right?
Yeah.
It's got Daredevil crying as a kid, some Deadpool, Iron Man's demon in a bottle,
Nice.
right?
Yeah.
So it's just got all these images
Oh, wow.
of previous Marvel books.
That's massive.
It's massive. However, there is one image on there that does not belong.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. According to Bleeding Cool, is where I read this at, right next where it says Tales of Suspense, A-Verse X, Dark Reign, Tales of the Zombie, official something prime cases, there is an image of 2 men kissing. And
Who is it? Is it Wolverine and Kurt Wagner?
No, it is not.
Who is it?
It is Alan Scott from Earth 2, Issue 2,
Uh-oh.
DC Comics
Uh-oh.
from 2012. So Marvel somehow attached a DC reference onto their 1000th issue book.
Wow.
And I thought that was very entertaining.
That's pretty entertaining.
If you're not looking for it, you don't
you
see
probably
it.
won't see it.
Because it took me a minute to look at the image and figure out where it was at. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, wait, it's right there. And then you can't unsee it. But it's not like Alan Scott's in his Green Lantern costume or anything.
Yeah.
So you
wouldn't know.
wouldn't know if you're a casual reader.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I thought that was quite entertaining. And I wanted to bring that one up.
Yeah. There's another one that I read. It was about Green Lantern, and there's going to be like a Batman Green Lantern. It's like number 10 or something like that. I was wanting to know what your thoughts on that was, because you told me to start reading at 9, right?
8.
Eight?
I missed. The last issue was 7. It's actually the next one is 8.
8?
So yeah.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
I'm withholding judgment.
I was reading that, and I was like, I wonder how he feels about that.
Another article I did see was that they are pulling Tom King. DC is pulling Tom King off of Batman books at like issue 85.
Yes.
When he started, he wanted to make it to 100 issues.
Yeah.
And now they're pulling him off of it. Looks like mainly because of sales problems, which compared to Scott Snyder's run is a little bit less. However, I've been enjoying the Tom King run of Batman a lot more than Snyder's run.
Okay.
So
He is going to Batman Catwoman, though.
Is
yeah. I just would have liked to see him hit his 1,000 or his 100. Maybe like what he wanted. Yeah.
he? Yeah. Well, all right.
All right.
Got anything, Nick?
Nope, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah,
You
I'm
done?
out.
You
Yeah.
done? All right. So let's do a little housekeeping here. You can follow us on Twitter at the It's Too Wordy 1. Our Patreon is patreon.com/housebts, or send us an email at the It's Too Wordy Comic Book Podcast at yahoo.com. So read more comics, have fun. We'll see you next week. This has been Kirk.
Ryan.
Bye.
Dark blue banner, belted by gamma rays, turned into the Hulk.
Ain't he unglamorous?
and